Welcome to a new series by Friends of the Parks dedicated to lifting up the voices of young people. Our goal for this series is to highlight Chicago youth driving environmental, social, and economic justice. Their stories help to inspire, equip, and mobilize all of us, including the next generation of park activists. I'm Andrea Dennis, your host, and I serve as the Director of Environmental Education and Engagement for Friends of the Parks. We kicked off this series with our first guest, Yesenia Chavez, who's a member of the United Neighbors of the 10th Ward, a student at Olive Harvey College, and an activist who recently participated in a hunger strike to prevent a metal shredding company from relocating to the southeast side of Chicago. Yesenia is a fierce advocate for social, economical, and environmental equality, and it was our privilege to hear her story and passion behind her causes. And today we are talking to another youth activist. His name is Peter Tolzman, and he has an equal amount of passion and drive. At just 16 years old, he is bringing awareness to birding and conservation. Fun fact, Peter, I actually heard you speak at the Chicago Park District Commissioners meeting, and I thought to myself, I'd really like to meet this young person, this young, passionate birder and avid nature enthusiast. So welcome to the series, Peter, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Yep, it's a pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. Well, I would like to kick this off for you to just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with the Illinois Young Birders.
So, pretty much, I got into birding, I think it was about 4 years ago, and I'm a little brother of my brother Simon, and he went out with our grandpa birding, and I was like, that is so cool. So, I started birding too. I think it was in 2016, the late summer of 2016. And ever since, I've been so enthusiastic about birding. And lately, I've been looking into other stuff like plants and um, reptiles and stuff like that. But the Illinois Young Birders is an awesome program that's associated with the IOS, which is the Illinois Ornithological Society. Um, and my mom is actually somebody who works there or volunteers there. So um, I've just pretty much just, I don't know how to put it, just been along for the ride with doing that. And it's really fun because the walks are great. Not in 2020 or 2021 because of the COVID-19 pandemic, but otherwise, that's pretty much just how I got into it and um, started getting into Illinois Young Birders.
Excellent. So it runs in your family. Your grandpa got you involved, your mother's into it, your older brother's into it. For those of us who didn't grow up with birders, can you just walk us through the experience of birding and why you love it so much?
Yeah, so pretty much almost every weekend, unless we have like my parents are working a lot, we go out almost every weekend looking for some kind of wildlife or some specific goal, and we just wake up in the morning and or in the afternoon and just leave. But um, I love it so much because sorry, excuse me. Being outside in nature is just really calming, and just being able to admire birds and other wildlife and just watching them do their thing, which is really that's one of my favorite parts about it, and just seeing um, how graceful and elegant a lot of these birds are and other things. Just that's what I love most about it is just being enjoying um, nature and just being out there. So yeah.
Oh, that's really, really beautiful. I loved how you talked about like the elegance of birds. And it makes me think about the Nature Along the Lake program that we run at Friends of the Parks, which in pre-COVID times, we would go out to the lake with a group of Chicago public school students 3 times a year in the fall, winter, and spring, and just allow them to be outside and take in nature and really think about how does nature teach us, what teachings are there for us when we are outside. And not only that, just appreciating its beauty. So I'm curious, what do the birds teach you, or what have you learned about life from birds?
I think it just teaches me that if I mean those most birds have a scheduled routine every year that they have to complete if it's migrating to South America or um, or trying to get to breeding grounds in northern Canada. I just take from that that they keep pushing along even in hard times. They just keep going no matter what. And I really admire that. And that teaches me that I should never give up in my goals. So that's one thing that is very inspiring for me from birds. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much resilience in nature, and to keep going. That's really so true. What would you say to those people who are like, birds don't really matter? There's a lot of things to care about on the planet right now. And of course, I think birds are really important. But what would your message be to people who, maybe don't think birding is an important thing? What would you say to them?
I would say everybody can have their own opinion, and there's nothing that can change that except them, which is completely fine. But I would just say that you can have your own opinion, but it wouldn't stop me from believing um, that or not and like thinking that birds are cool. So or uh, or just like being able to do the things that you love. So even if it doesn't matter to you, you if even if you like them, you shouldn't take offense to that. You should just keep doing what you love to do.
Such sage advice. Thank you for sharing that. So, what do you think are some common misconceptions people have about birders or birds in general?
Hmm. I That's tough because I honestly I don't know because I haven't really met that many people who um are not like disrespectful but are like they're not like I haven't really met anybody who doesn't really care about birds or just like doesn't don't think they're important or so I really don't know um but maybe that some people might think that some birders just will do whatever it takes to get a bird, like trampling through a prairie to go get a bird, which is not right. I don't think that. Usually, you just stay on the trails or the paths. But I think that could be maybe a misconception. But I'm not quite too sure on many other things about that.
Okay, that leads me to my next question. For those of us who aren't birders and don't really know how it works, um, what do you take with you when you bird? When you say get a bird, does that just mean like a picture of it, or yeah, walk us through the process of birding.
Yeah. So there's a few different types of birding. Sometimes people are bird photographers, and then those might be the people who trample through a prairie to get the picture of a bird. Um, and then there's people who just go out and see what they see, which I really like doing. And then there's like chasing a rare bird. So if something shows up and you want to go chase it, then you can see, then that's another type. But mainly what I carry around are my binoculars and my camera. And I really like the photography aspect of birding because um, if there was just a bird sitting even on a fence post right off the path, um, I think it's really cool to be able to capture a bird doing whatever it's doing in that moment and being able to get back home, download your pictures, and see, wow, that's really cool. I never noticed that American robins did that or something like that. And but yeah, that's mainly that's what I carry around and think of that.
Nice. Speaking of rare birds and more common birds, the American robin, walk us through two experiences where you've come across a rare bird and what that was, like for you and how that maybe changed. If that changed birding for you, how did it change? And then talk us through some of the more common birds that you see, and when you do see the same type of bird a lot, what do you notice about your observation skills, or what are you looking for?
Yeah. And I think one thing for your first question, I think for a rare bird, we were out looking one time for a rare bird called the Western Tanager, and they pretty much only live in the West. I've seen them in their natural habitat in Colorado, but we were looking for one. This was in, I think, the second year that I've been birding, and we woke up really early to go and try and find it. And by the time we got there and we're looking for a while, we kind of lost our confidence trying to find it. And I'd just gotten a new camera, and I was trying to take pictures of these more common birds called marsh wrens that are really small and they dart in and out of and stuff. And I was getting a little upset that I wasn't getting a picture. And then I looked up, and um, in a bush, probably 20 feet away, the Western Tanager was just sitting there. So I got a picture of it. I ran back to my family who had walked back. I was like, the Western Tanager is right back there. And I think that really boosted my confidence for just birding overall. Um, and then I think for common birds, once you really see a lot of common, like the same common bird, like I usually go on our back porch for a few minutes every night, and the ring-billed gulls are going towards the lake to roost, or just sleep for the night. And one thing I've been able to get better at is identifying another one that maybe another species that may be farther away. Because now that I know what the ring-billed gulls look like, it's really easy for me to pick out the herring gull that might be flying um, way out over the park behind our house or something like that. But it really sharpens your skills on just being able to know what something looks like or what they sound like when they're flying over and stuff like that.
I love I love just that you know that the gulls are flying to roost, and that maybe helps connect us more to like rhythms and, like you said, schedule and getting things done and pushing through hard times. And that's really interesting. Thanks for that fact I didn't know. Well, I'm sure the entire birding community in Chicago was giddy with excitement when you know who came to visit, Monty and Rose, the Piping Plovers. So can you tell us a little bit about, your whole experience with the Piping Plovers?
Mm-hmm. So, I think it was 2 years ago, the summer of 2019. Two piping plovers that were previously breeding at another beach up north in Lake County came down, or sorry, in 2018 they had an unsuccessful breeding season in 2018. So then in 2019, they came down the shore to Montrose. And once people realized that they had built a nest and they were breeding, they I think one of our friends, Tamima Atani, started a group to, or sorry, like coordinated with the Chicago Parks District to set up a schedule for people to come and watch the birds to make sure that nothing happened to them and report if anybody were walking around the area of the nest. And that year, my older brother, he signed up to become a monitor for them. And I was just a little too little, um, and waking up early was a little too much for me at that time. Um, uh, which that's pretty much how they showed up here, which is really cool. And then in 2020, I was able to um, be a monitor with the rest of my family to watch them because they came back and had another successful year, which was great. But yeah,
So, Peter, how old are you?
I am 12.
12. Okay, because I
Yeah,
thought you were 16, so you're 12. Okay, great. Your older brother is?
yeah, he's
Okay, got it. Thank you for that. Um, well, when I heard you speak, you were speaking as an activist for the birds and trying to uh, influence the park district to protect that additional acre, which is where the piping plovers like to spend time with their chicks. What do you, how did you become an activist and turn your passion into birding into activism for conservation and for wildlife here in Chicago?
um it was pretty much I've always had this sense that um we should care for the animals that are around us, and because humans have like colonized the whole entire world and built huge cities and streets everywhere, and especially at the places that are still natural, I think that we should preserve those even more. And an acre is not a lot of land at all, I think. I mean, compared to how big a mile is, in a square mile, I'm not sure how many, but it's a lot bigger than an acre. And I think just taking an acre from I think it is the largest beach in Chicago, that's probably 20 times the size of that little area, could be preserved for two endangered birds, especially on the Great Lakes, because there's only like 72 breeding pairs on the Great Lakes. So that's pretty much how I turned birding into that, or kind of not necessarily transition, but started doing that with my passion of birding.
Yeah, that's so important. We talk about that with our students and our teens that we share the city with a lot of other plants and animals and creatures that we need to be mindful of because they're our neighbors. There's a criticism in ecology where it talks about how nature should be pristine and shouldn't have humans involved. But there's other schools of thoughts that talk about how humans can influence environments for good. And I just love how the piping plovers show us that even in a big city, one of the largest cities in the United States, we can still exist and cohabitate with these really, almost extinct birds, the piping plovers, and that it takes consideration. So thanks for lending your voice. How can other people help support birds in the birding community? How can Mayor Lori Lightfoot support? How could other elected officials and activists support birders and birding?
Yeah. And like you said before, for the criticism, some people think it should just be pristine. We want people to know what's going on. So we like at the monitors, when people are just walking by, we usually just tell them what's going on because they're interested, which is great. Um, and I think that people can influence, elected officials can influence this um, a lot by maybe putting out there, putting on social media that stuff like this is going on, or influence or making or trying to pass not necessarily laws, but uh like spreading the word about what's going on with endangered animals, plants, and stuff like that, because that's a really important part that people know, and it's not just a blocked off area that nobody can go to or nobody can see what's going on, because then people can't really learn about it, because somebody can tell you that it's going on, but it's not the same as being there and experiencing it to maybe get you in like or people into birding or activism.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. And speaking of the challenges that are going on, I know that there was a huge article that came out, I think in the New York Times, maybe last year or the year before last, that said the bird populations are overall down 30%, and talking about how there are a lot of issues related to that, including climate change and pesticide use and removal of habitat. What are some of the biggest challenges, facing bird populations, and how can we be involved to help the problem that's going on?
Mm-hmm. So, I think this is one of the probably the biggest problem, especially in the Chicago area, or one of the biggest problems, but definitely in the Chicago area, because birds see a reflection in windows, and when they see like a tree there, they try to land in it, and especially in sorry, there are a ton of buildings along the lakefront and rivers that have that are just pure glass. And glass is very reflective, so when birds see this, they fly into the windows and either die or get really stunned. But most birds die from hitting these windows. And the Northwestern campus is a really good example of this. It's a south facing building with lots of windows, and you can go there on any given day, or just walk on that lakefront path and find dead birds right at the base of the building. And there's actually a big way to help with this. There is something called bird friendly glass, which you have to input when you're making the building, but it's like this kind of film that the birds can see, so that it kind of um, stops the reflection a bit, and it shows like these lines in the windows. And then for just people who aren't building huge buildings, you can put up window decals, so you can stick stickers on your windows, to show that this is not a place to land, um, and stuff like that. So there's lots of ways um, you can do that, and that's, I think, one of the most important things to do when we're trying to or save birds, especially because, like you said, 30% of birds are dying. And another big problem is outdoor cats. So there are a lot of outdoor cats. I've seen a few in our neighborhood, and sometimes they can kill 24 birds a day, up from that even. And that's another reason, but it's mainly the windows, especially in migration, because all those birds are trying to get from place to place when they're migrating. But yeah, those are some big problems. And Yeah.
Where is that building that you were talking about?
Yeah, the Northwestern campus. I think it's in.
Oh, the Northwest. Okay. Yeah, the Northwestern campus in Evanston. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Um, so what are some resources for people when it comes to birding that you'd like to tell people about?
So there is this website, an app called eBird, and it's made by the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, which is based out of Cornell in Ithaca, New York. And it's probably the most advanced bird lab in the whole entire world. And eBird is this an amazing resource where it allows you to submit a checklist with all the birds you see any given place or day. And then people who work at the Cornell lab take all that data and use it to try and map migration routes and then or just when birds are there so they can help try and um, and influence other big companies and stuff like that to start doing different things and but it's also a great way just to get into birding because it tracks your life list if you're into that kind of thing, where you can see how many birds you've seen. You can see where other people have seen birds because there's different tools on different tab. Um, and I think it's just a great resource because it allows people to get interested because it has so many different tools and things to just um, let people research and learn different things about birds.
You learn something new every day. I downloaded it and I will create an account. And when we go on our trips to the lakefront, once we start having field trips in person again, I will use this to track the birds that we see. So thank you for that.
It's a great resource. We use it every single time we go out, and I'm just on it whenever I have time on our computer, just researching and learning stuff about birds. So yeah.
Excellent, Peter. Well, we want to do this last segment with you that's called rapid fire questions. We're going to ask you 5 questions and you can give me really quick answers. Are you game?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first question I have for you is who or what inspires your activism?
Ooh, okay. I would just say, um, probably I don't have anybody who's well known to like the birding world, but it's probably just my parents and my family because they got me into it. And it's I think that they always tell me just do what you want, like do what you believe in, and I think that's probably the most inspiring thing for me because um, it's just having somebody or people there um, letting you know that those things that might be comforting to you are just really great for me at least because
Mm,
um, those are that's probably um, yeah, those are probably the main people, but definitely my family pretty much.
beautiful. That's so special. I hope they'll get a big smile on their face when they watch this video. Okay, question number 2, Peter. What is your favorite park in Chicago and why?
I would say Montrose Beach slash Point in the harbor because there's just so many birds there. On eBird, there have been 348 species recorded there, and it's the highest number in all of Illinois. Um, and it like there's such diversity there. They have the beach where shorebirds come in and land in the summer and feed. They have the dunes, which is critical to a lot of plants and insects. There's fish in the inlet. And then the magic hedge gets a ton of different bird species like warblers, vireos, um, and a ton of other stuff. So that's definitely my favorite park. And then there is a park right behind our house, just right back there, that I really like. It's just 1 acre, and it is about a lot of pretty big trees, and it's called Senior Citizens Memorial Park. And it we've seen I think 162 species there, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, those are probably the two main parks.
Wow, a 1 acre, one
Yeah.
acre little park. Well, there's a controversy right now with Montrose Point that Friends of the Parks is working on because the city council quietly passed a portion of the budget that is going to put parking meters in at Montrose. So right now we're hoping that they will reverse that decision because it's one of the few places that remains free for people to come and experience our lakefront. And as you know, there's as much diversity, human diversity, as there is with birds in that area. So I really hope that will be reconsidered.
Yeah, and I heard about that. And if they if because on the south side there are parking meters down on the lakefront there, and there's none at the places up north. And I just don't think there should be parking meters anywhere because people should be able to enjoy nature without having to pay for it. Um, so that's definitely I definitely think they should um, reverse that too.
Agreed. Okay, we've got three more rapid fire questions. Number three, because, people who might listen to this are from all different age groups. And we want to know, what music are you listening to right now, Peter?
Um, to be honest, I don't really listen to music,
Okay.
but when I do, it's usually classical music because I used to play cello, so I listen to cello, so like the Bach cello suites and stuff like that. But I don't listen to a lot of music really.
Okay. Thank you for that. Cello is quite beautiful. If you could be an animal, which animal would you be and why?
Oh boy, I um I don't know. It would probably be some kind of forest dwelling bird. Maybe a galliform, which are like turkeys, quails, grouses, pheasants, stuff like that. Partridges. I just think it would be so awesome to live in a forest and just like walk around in the undergrowth, just being able to kind of hide away and just like pretty much do what you please and being able to just walk around all day long. I think that would be pretty awesome.
That reminds me, when I visit my parents who live outside of Cincinnati in this small town, neighbors a few doors down have a pack of guinea fowl. And they will just come in my dad's backyard. It's the best moment of the day because I can hear them, and their feathers are so beautiful. And they just are like these cute little birds darting around.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. Our last rapid fire question is, what is your message to young folks listening?
I just would say if you have a dream or a goal to do something, keep trying for that, keep going towards that goal. Um, and I would just say, um, pretty much just keep doing what you're doing, and that's the best thing that you can do. So don't let anybody who might say that what you're doing isn't good or something like that. Just don't listen to them and keep on going because the world definitely needs that right now.
Just like the birds, keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
Final question. How can our listeners learn more about the Illinois Young Birders? Where can they go?
Okay, I do not know the exact website. I think it's probably illinoisyoungbirders.com. So, birders.com. I think if you just type in www.illinoisyoungbirders.org, sorry, um, that will come up, and you can just read about that. And my mom coordinates, I think it's monthly calls or meetings with um, cool birders and to talk about their jobs and stuff like that. And then there's also iOS. Um, it's also a membership thing, so you do have to get a membership. But and then iOS also does talks like Illinois Young Birders, and I think you can just do the same thing, iOS or Illinois Ornithological Society.org, to see what's going on.
Excellent. Well, Peter, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. Thanks to our listeners for joining our conversation and learning. I'm sure everyone learned who tuned in. To stay in touch with us at Friends of the Parks, you can visit fotp.org and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I want to thank everyone, especially your family, Peter. Sounds like you have a really neat family. And I just want to encourage you to follow your dreams, like you're encouraging all of us, because you're an amazing young person. And it was really an honor to talk with you today.
Thank you. It was really awesome talking with you today. I'm glad we could I'm glad we could do it.